One of the first things that they did when we became part of the corporation was to start cheapening the product. They met with everybody, pulled everybody together, and told us we were being sold to Raytheon, and which in turn turned out to be Bain. We were worried that we weren't going to have a job, and then at the very end, they decided to shut the doors.
America's Radio Newsline. Have a conversation with Mike Baxley. He's the owner of Washers R Us. Mr. Baxley is featured in this now infamous Super PAC documentary called The King of Bain. Mr. Baxley, thank you for making time for us here on America's Radio News.
Thank you guys for having me.
You're featured in this documentary, and it has been alleged by the Gingrich campaign that a lot of fallacies exist inside of this this Super PAC documentary. And it's my understanding you contend that a lot of your quotes were taken out of context as well, sir.
That's correct.
Well, how do they misrepresent your feelings?
Well, mainly the way the whole video was presented to us, we were asked to do a documentary on factory closings in the United States. And a lot of the questions that were asked were about large corporations taking over small private companies. And our factory had been through that type of takeover and buyout, so to speak. And we were answering questions in that aspect. We were never told that this was about Bain Capital or Mr. Romney, and that's the part that is incorrect and inaccurate.
So what you're saying is that you were questioned about your experience under false pretense and therefore misrepresented, correct?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. That's exactly what we're saying.
And so, what was your experience overall? Did you have some experience with Bain, and what was it?
Well, our company was first purchased by Raytheon, and this was the company I had worked at, Unimac, since 1994. And when Raytheon purchased us, we became part of that corporation in that situation that we were talking about in the video. And then we were later sold to Bain, and then ultimately the company was sold to the Ontario Teachers Pension Fund in Ontario, Canada, and all of those stages were different through that time period for us, and we went through a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. But all through that time period, you know, our pay increased. We had promotions during that time, especially during the Bain Capital period. You know, I know I was promoted twice during that time period. So
let me get this straight. You actually, when Bain actually owned your company, you actually saw a 30% increase in your salary, and you received 2 increases. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that allegation made by this documentary was patently false.
Absolutely.
Now, have you called on the Super PAC that is putting out this documentary on behalf of Mitt Romney, not at the direction of Mitt Romney, because that's illegal, and Mr. Romney has been out in front and saying that he has no culpability on this. Have you called on this Super PAC to correct the record?
Well, now the Super PAC that put this video out was Mr. Gingrich.
I'm sorry,
right,
Mr.
Gingrich. Newt Gingrich.
Newt Gingrich, I'm sorry.
I have received, and actually I have reached out and talked to Mitt Romney's campaign, and they actually, you know, were very sympathetic to what we were going through, and were very helpful in guiding us through some of this press that we're going through. And I have reached out to the gentleman that actually came and did the video for us, because we were going to get a complete copy of it, which we never saw, of course, and he will not call us back. And then I've later read that, you know, the actual rights to the video and how it was made was actually changed hands several times before it was put out by Mr. Gingrich's Super PAC.
And it sounds to me, from what I've read about this, the analysis of the video and the fact-checking, there's a lot of mixed truths in there, many falsehoods, some truths, so basically a mixed bag on this overall. Now, you watched the video, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
What was your overall sense of it, coming from someone who's actually, you know, lived this experience?
My overall thought was anger, disgust, and dissatisfaction, basically, because those mistruths and what you're talking about. Sure, you could take that video, and as we said those things and those clips that they put in, we did say those things. Obviously, you can see us saying those things in the video, but it's very short clip. And then it's followed by their documentary talking or the additions that they put in with video as well as audio, and it's just not telling the whole truth that we were talking about. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we really talked about a long time during our interview was the success story of our company, Washers R Us, and how we learned this trade that we're in from Alliance, from Bain Capital, and while we were part of that company. So we have a lot of ties to that company still.
Governor Mitt Romney has come out and said that these super PACs need to go. He has declared in last night's debate that McCain-Feingold campaign finance was a disaster, in his words. You, as a citizen now who has been, victimized is probably too strong, but has had his comments taken out of context and used to bludgeon somebody else and actually articulate a point of view that you didn't actually hold. What is your impression of the McCain-Feingold financing rules and super PACs in general?
Well, until this happened to us, I had no idea what a super PAC was. I didn't realize what had been going on the last few years. But since it has happened, I've done a lot of research, and I've watched the debate last night. I've read newspaper article after newspaper article, and to me, the super PACs, just like Governor Romney said, needs to be abolished. The guy who is in the campaign, the guy who's running for the office, needs to have access to these ads that are running for or against, for their campaign, so that they can control them. They're stamped with their name at the end of it, just like they said last night on the debate. And I think that would stop most of what's happening right there. Now, I don't know what the financial problems are with that, but I do know that as far as these super PACs running ads, they take things, they run with it. They're just trying to do slanderous work that I think is definitely false and should not be even viewed as truths by the American public.
All right, Mike Baxley, owner of Washers R Us. Mr. Baxley featured, of course, in The King of Bain, the documentary used to attack Governor Mitt Romney, the GOP presidential candidate. Sir, we appreciate your candor here on America's Radio News.
Thank you, sir. Thank y'all for having me.